Tonight, indoor masks return with new COVID rules from midnight as Victoria's daily cases hit 2,000. A busy Melbourne airport with pressure growing to abandon tests for interstate travellers. New details on when the third vaccine rollout will be fast-tracked and how shopping centres will help. Every Victorian police officer to be given a taser. The last-minute rush to snap up Christmas presents with centres open late tonight. And skipper Pat Cummins reunited with the Aussies in Melbourne for the Boxing Day test.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Mike Amor starts now.
Good evening. Victorians will be forced to wear masks indoors and at the Boxing Day test under a plan to combat Omicron. The government's promised there's no lockdown on the horizon, but says rising case numbers mean common sense changes must be made.
Masks are on as Omicron takes off.
This is a sensible response which will allow businesses to stay open, bars and restaurants to continue to serve customers, and major events to go ahead.
We usually get about 50% levels of cooperation or compliance with a strong recommendation. It goes to 95, 99% with a mandate.
From 11:59 tonight, they'll be needed in all indoor settings except homes for everyone 8 years and over.
There are very small individual costs for us. They have a terrific impact on transmission, and that's as true for Omicron as for any variant.
From a business perspective, the only good news is we're away from the office largely until the 10th of January now, so it shouldn't impact us too much. We hope this might be revised before we come back.
You'll need to wear one while walking around at major events with more than 30,000 people. When seated at sporting events like the Boxing Day test, you'll be able to remove your mask.
The modelling also tells us that people wearing masks will significantly reduce the pressure on our hospitals.
A return to working from home has been recommended, as has seated service in hospitality and dancing outdoors. But there's an exception to the mask rules for drinking at bars and nightclubs.
The recommendation is that if you want to be as safe as you can, not to do that, but it won't be an order. There's so many events already planned.
And it's come with a vital promise.
Because Victorians went out and got vaccinated in record numbers, it means that we are not considering going into lockdown.
As for why the return to masks has been made, it's all come down to Omicron.
New South Wales has got 15 times the number that they had just a couple of weeks ago. So a fifth as severe, but 15 times as many cases is going to be a challenge to a health system.
We recorded 2,005 new cases overnight, a jump of 502. There were 10 deaths and 398 people are in hospital. In New South Wales, there were 5,715 cases, an increase of almost 2,000.
That variant does not know if it's in New South Wales or Victoria, and we would be foolish not to work on the basis that we will see a similar escalation of Omicron cases in this state.
It's hard to know how long the Omicron wave is going to be going through the community in Melbourne and in Australia in general. But I think until it's really settled down, we're going to be in masks for the time being.
And rules are changing in New South Wales.
We will be requiring that masks are worn in indoor settings. We'll be moving for hospitality venues indoors to 2 square metres. We're also encouraging people not to mingle.
And Charnel Valla joins us. Charnel, shopping centres will play a role in getting more vaccines into homes.
That's right, I'm in a pop-up clinic on Little Bourke Street. We're right near the Emporium, and as you can see, it is quite busy. 28 of these pop-up vaccine clinics will be set up in shopping centres to try to capture those shoppers as they try to get in those last-minute presents. If you want to do that yourself, you can head to High Point or Eastland, where they're already open. Mike.
Charnel, thank you. It's been the busiest day since July at Melbourne Airport as Victorians dash interstate for Christmas holidays and reunions. But pre-flight testing remains a sticking point, with growing calls for Queensland in particular to scrap the requirement.
On the eve of Christmas Eve, there was COVID-safe entertainment at Melbourne Airport. On what's tipped to be its busiest day in 6 months, with 60,000 passengers in and out.
There were so many people travelling, and it says to me that we're optimistic and we want to forge ahead.
Travellers to Queensland and South Australia still required to have a negative COVID test result have been clogging queues. The Queensland Premier won't budge yet.
I'm concerned on the Gold Coast that we do not have the high rates of vaccination that are needed in a tourist destination.
Blocking your queues, either in your state or in the state of origin, for people to test just to travel is not the best use of the testing facilities.
Our state government is preparing for a switch to home testing.
We're purchasing as much rapid antigen testing kits as we can. New South Wales is doing the same.
New South Wales hopes to make them free.
Rapid antigen tests could be made available at our vaccination centres, pharmacists and GPs, so making it as easy as possible.
Depends on whether you trust the testing, right?
I do like that a health professional is doing it because she knows what she's doing.
Do you trust her more than you trust yourself?
Yes.
Some travellers have avoided long queues across the state by instead paying for rapid tests at the airport just before they leave. But today, hundreds had the same idea. The line snaking through the terminal as passengers' departure times ticked closer.
I thought, my gosh, what's happening? It shouldn't be like this.
Oh, it's crazy. Thank God we got here early.
I might even get COVID just standing here next to people.
By early afternoon, the airport said unprecedented demand meant local travellers had to be banned, testing only available for those going overseas. Some experts say that's how it should be everywhere.
PCR testing just for domestic travel, I think, is a waste of resources.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Western Australia has just announced tough new rules after a backpacker tested positive to COVID. Cases are surging across Australia. In Queensland, infections have more than doubled to 369. The ACT has also hit a new high with 85 more positive results. The outbreak in South Australia continues to climb, a record 484 cases there, while Tasmania has reported its worst day, 26 infections. Western Australia's one new case arrived from Queensland and has spent time in nightclubs and restaurants. The state's restrictions include indoor masks and nightclubs will be closed until Tuesday. More Australians will get access to booster shots sooner as the Immunisation Board moves to reduce the wait time between doses. 7 News can reveal an announcement will be made within days.
The first jabs for kids. Arriving in Sydney last weekend, 2 million doses ready for the January 10 start.
We have all the vaccines that we need for the country.
20 million of them put aside for boosters.
Australians are stepping forward in record numbers to have their boosters.
And those numbers will soon increase. 7 News can reveal the wait time between second and third COVID shots will be shortened from 5 months to 4, but there'll be a staged introduction, possibly preferencing older Australians, with an announcement expected within days.
We're 500,000 boosters ahead of schedule.
Today, opposition leader Anthony Albanese broke ranks and publicly called for changes to the health advice.
The gap between the second dose and the booster will need to be brought forward.
The federal government slammed Mr Albanese, saying he shouldn't interfere.
Utterly irresponsible, utterly inappropriate.
The Pharmacy Guild agrees.
Advice on timing of boosters should be made by clinicians and not by politicians.
As the former Prime Minister Tony Abbott weighs into the debate, criticising governments for imposing restrictions, saying it's time to move on.
This crisis is now as well managed as it is ever going to be. We have to put it behind us and get on with life.
Mr Abbott also warned,
sickness and death are an inevitable part of life.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
An antiviral at-home COVID pill has been cleared for use by regulators in the US. High-risk infected Americans will be the first to access the Pfizer-made drug. Data from the pharmaceutical company claims the treatment reduces the chance of ending up in hospital or dying by up to 89%. Every frontline police officer is to get a taser to help them deal with dangerous situations without pulling out their gun. Until now, there has only been limited use in regional areas and by tactical police.
These are the latest model tasers that will be considered for the mass rollout. 7 News was given access when they were demonstrated to the force 2 years ago. Tasers will become standard issue for police statewide.
where there's the risk of serious injury or death, we now have another option, another tactical option that we can use.
$200 million will be spent on 6,000 devices, additional equipment and training, a massive increase to the less than 1,000 tasers currently available to tactical police and at 37 regional stations.
It is actually a pacifier. It is actually something that has been proven the world over to reduce contacts and violent confrontations with police.
In the past 4 years, Victoria police officers have drawn tasers on 1,300 occasions. About a third of those situations were deemed dangerous enough for the devices to be discharged. The use of the tasers will be linked to police body-worn cameras. Critics are concerned about the restricted access to that vision as well as the cost of the rollout.
So that someone experiencing poverty or mental health episode gets medical support, not 50,000 volts.
Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
2 boys critically injured in the Devonport jumping castle disaster have now been moved out of intensive care. The mother of one of the 6 victims paid tribute to her son, Zane Mellor, at the first funeral since the tragedy.
He was introduced to family and friends with the song Give Heaven Some Hell. A small coffin in boy blue, and while funerals remember stories of when people were young, they are the only stories Zane Mellor ever had. He was 12.
I just want to say goodbye to you, Zane. You were a special person to so many. I love you, Zaney.
He loved his gaming and dinosaurs. His online nickname was Jurassic Zane.
You were my man of the house always, my protector, my strength, my gamer.
5 more funerals will follow. 5 more families who have to say goodbye to children who died doing children things. Inflatable equipment like jumping castles are banned now in Tasmanian schools.
I spelt you. I was told not to. But oh God, I spelt you rotten, and I have no regrets.
He also had a love of animals. He was the chicken whisperer, the cat whisperer, and his support dog Peanut, the dash hound, was very loved.
Zane Mellor was challenged with ADHD and autism, a popular classmate with tributes also from his school, which at least welcomed news today that 2 other boys are out of intensive care now, scarred physically and emotionally, but they still have a future.
Happy birthday to you. Zane, stop moving.
Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
Michael Slater's lawyer says the former Test cricketer is doing well in a Sydney hospital where he has started receiving mental health treatment as part of his bail conditions. The 51-year-old was arrested last week, accused of breaching an AVO by repeatedly contacting his ex-girlfriend. Slater wasn't in court for the hearing today. The matter will return in April. Prosecutors in the Netherlands have demanded life sentences for the men accused of bringing down flight MH17 over Ukraine. Hundreds were killed in 2014, including dozens of Australians, but justice may prove to be elusive.
22 months into this trial, a crucial moment.
Met de dood tot gevolg.
Prosecutors making their final submissions calling for life prison sentences for the 4 men accused of mass murder. 38 Australians were among the 298 people on board who died when Malaysian Airlines flight MH17 broke up over eastern Ukraine. International investigators, including Australian federal police detectives, say it was shot down by a missile fired by pro-Russian rebels. The 4 on trial, 3 Russians and a Ukrainian.
They planned this act of violence in advance and organised it in close cooperation.
The Australian and Dutch governments have previously accused Russia of direct involvement. The chances of anyone involved in the downing of flight MH17 serving any jail time are slim. All 4 are being tried in absentia and remain at large. Moscow is refusing to cooperate as relations between Russia and the West continue to sour. Ukrainian soldiers are conducting combat drills as Russian troops mount on the border. Verdicts in the trial aren't expected until September, but are likely to create another political flashpoint. In London, Hugh Whitfeld, 7 News.
Last-minute shoppers know time is running out to get their Christmas presents. Major shopping centres have extended opening hours tonight. Emma O'Sullivan is at Chadstone, and Emma, is it busy there?
Mike, it's not crazy. It's still easy to get around, I have to say. The car park was very busy late this afternoon. If you're yet to start your Christmas shopping, the centres have extended hours tonight. Chadstone is open until midnight, as is Doncaster. High Point is staying open until 2 a.m. The Retailers Association says the new variant hasn't deterred people from coming to the shops, but some areas are definitely busier than others. We'd already seen strong sales figures last month. Now they're soaring.
Customers are actually shopping up a storm despite the scare of the Omicron variant. We're on track to have a record Christmas trade at over $59 billion, which is plus 12% on pre-pandemic levels.
A top priority in the lead up to Christmas, buying gifts for family.
Finishing it, hopefully. Just getting longer arms now, wait a minute.
At Doncaster, some organised shoppers were simply enjoying an outing.
I'm actually shopping for myself. I've done all my shopping, so I'm just looking for the sales.
Clothing, homewares and toys proving the most popular items.
What I want for Christmas is a dimple, a big puppet.
Lego again among the favourites.
It's fun to build, and if you get one of these play sets, you can play around with it and make your own adventure.
And have you been good this year?
Yes, in my opinion.
Shopping centres have done their best to inject a little magic into the festive season.
Amazing Santa set. Santa finishes up tonight before heading back to the North Pole to go and get ready to deliver all the presents. And this year we've introduced our sound, light and snow show.
But many are showing a preference for supporting local shopping strips this year.
I don't like shopping centres, they give me headaches.
People are still staying away from the city locations, particularly Melbourne City, so we are concerned about those city retailers. Give this city a thought when you're doing your last-minute Christmas shopping.
And of course, getting a socially distanced photo with Santa is all part of the fun. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Some of Australia's Ashes stars have received some special treatment, Andrew McCormack. That includes the skipper and vice-captain.
It does, Mike. Pat Cummins is out of isolation and gearing up for the Boxing Day test. Mitch Cleary is live at the team hotel in the city. And Mitch, the Aussie skipper, is raring to return.
Andrew, Pat Cummins will be cherry ripe to take to the MCG. 7 News was there as he touched down in Melbourne via a private charter with partner Becky and son Albie late this afternoon. Finally reunited with the whole Australian squad for the first time since he was wiped out from the second test win in Adelaide. Deputy Steve Smith was also on board with Nathan Lyon and Mitchell Starc after a well-earned day's rest in Sydney. The focus now, securing the urn with a Ashes win against England on Boxing Day. Andrew?
Oh, let's hope so. Thanks, Mitch Cleary there. And Mike, coming up later in sport, a box office Melbourne Stars import has delivered a pretty ominous warning, as only he can. More on that shortly.
OK, see you soon. Thanks, Macca. A community in Melbourne's southeast is celebrating a win against a developer. How they won the fight is next on 7 News. Also, why there's a push to ban late-night liquor deliveries. Further chaos for the Queen's Christmas plans. Can the mystery of John Bonet's murder be solved with a new DNA technology? And later, why Victorians should think twice before buying a pet for a present. There's been a David and Goliath battle in Hampton with a group of neighbours taking on developers in court and winning. They spent $30,000 of their own money to stop construction of a massive block of apartments.
People power has prevailed in Hampton. 25 neighbours from Service Street united to take developers to VCAT to block construction of 36 apartments over 3 levels, complete with rooftop swimming pools. And they won.
We couldn't believe it. I mean, people are saying, is this for real? Just elated. The fact that, David can beat Goliath.
It started over a year ago. They tried unsuccessfully to save 4-century-old period homes from being demolished. One mystery objector, not believed to be from this group, even set fire to a bulldozer. It didn't work. All 4 homes were flattened.
People were crying and, we thought we had a chance of maybe saving the last 2.
But they didn't give up, forking out tens of thousands of dollars from their own pockets for lawyers and court battles. And it was worth it.
But I think it's a cracker of a result for residents.
The future of the vacant blocks remains unclear. Developers bought the 4 homes for $14.6 million. So it's most likely now they'll either sell the land or come up with a new proposal.
I suspect any future developer would approach this particular block of land with a lot of caution.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
An unoccupied house in Windsor went up in flames overnight. 11 firefighters fought off the blaze at 2:30 a.m. after neighbours spotted flames through the windows of the Raleigh Street property. The fire is being treated as suspicious. Luckily, no one was inside. 25 years since the murder of 6-year-old John Benet Ramsey captured the world, police say they're still actively working on the case. Investigators revealed they've processed more than 1,500 pieces of evidence and analysed 1,000 DNA samples. They're hopeful advances in DNA testing will help them solve the case. The body of John Benet was found in the basement of her home in 1996. Autopsy results found she'd been strangled. The Queen's festive plans have been dealt a further blow, with her son-in-law testing positive for COVID, forcing family members into isolation. The Duchess of Cambridge is keeping busy, hosting a special Christmas concert.
At Westminster Abbey, a special festive celebration and a future Queen consort with her own Christmas message.
We've seen so many challenges, we've lost our loved ones, we've seen our frontline workers under immense pressure, and also we've been more emotionally and socially distanced and isolated from each other.
Kate brought together community workers from across the UK for the carol service, telling the story of Christmas. They were joined by senior royals, including new mother Princess Beatrice. The special celebration held earlier this month. It'll be broadcast in Britain on Christmas Eve. But royal festive plans are being rewritten again. Princess Anne's husband, Sir Timothy Lawrence, has tested positive for COVID. The couple now both in isolation at their Gloucestershire home. They'll miss visiting the Queen at Windsor Castle on Christmas Day.
She's supposedly being joined by other members of the family, but we really don't know the state that they're in either. So we're going to have to wait and see. And I'm sure that's the way the Queen is playing it by ear as well, because there's no way of knowing from one day to the next who's going to get it.
Ahead of what will be the Queen's first Christmas in nearly 5 decades without her husband. In London, Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
Health experts are calling for a ban on late-night alcohol deliveries. The Australian Health Policy Collaboration says after-dark deliveries are putting lives at risk because it's more likely to be vulnerable drinkers. It follows an 8% jump in alcohol-related deaths in 2020. The panel of 60 experts say home deliveries should be limited to between 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. Sonia Marinelli joins us now. And Sonia, the weather was spot on today.
It sure was, Mike, and we're on a roll. This afternoon, just a taste of what's to come. The early cloud clear, the sun is shining, allowing us to warm to a lovely but mild 20 degrees. And this is just the beginning. We're finally off that summer roller coaster and we're now looking forward to a week of settled sunshine over the Christmas break with not a drop of rain to speak of. And next week, we're in a warming trend, so there's plenty of beach weather in the forecast. Just for you, Mike.
We all love the sound of that. Thanks, Sonia. See you soon. A Melbourne mother needs help to afford life-saving surgery. Her desperate plea to get to America is next on 7 News. Also, anger over truckie's life sentence. Even his victims say it's too harsh. A recall of dry shampoo because of cancer-causing chemical. And packed animal shelters facing a post-Christmas surge in unwanted pets. A desperately ill Melbourne mother needs to raise money to travel to the United States for life-saving surgery. An American surgeon is willing to give her one last chance, but the operation comes at a huge cost.
Jolene Anderson is the picture of health, but she's living with a death sentence. The breast cancer survivor has unrelated stage 4 colon cancer, which has spread to every lobe of her liver.
Because I was pregnant at the time of all my symptoms, it was palmed off as pregnancy-related.
A doting mother to 2-year-old Layla and 5-year-old Chloe, newlywed Jolene is desperate to stay alive for her girls.
The thought of, thinking of songs for my funeral that they might like, I shouldn't have to think like that.
It took doctors a year to diagnose the 38-year-old. Now there's little they will do, aside from palliative chemotherapy. But a New York surgeon has offered her a lifeline. In the new year, Dr. Roberto Hernandez Alejandro wants to perform a liver transplant using half a liver from a live donor.
We're looking forward to see you here and get ready for your liver transplant.
Jolene has a donor but needs $500,000 to pay for the operations.
It is a matter of life and death.
Shane is a drummer with heavy metal band 12 Foot Ninja. He's unable to tour and the family can't afford the surgery. Without it, Jolene only has a 10% chance of survival. A new liver could extend the odds to 80%. The couple now praying the generosity of strangers will help them buy the gentle mum the ultimate Christmas gift.
Time's ticking. You know, it's a matter of time.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Popular hair products have been recalled over cancer concerns. More than 30 aerosol products, including Pantene's Never Tell Dry shampoo and Waterless Dry shampoo, have been taken off shelves. Procter & Gamble issued the notice after detecting unexpected levels of the cancer-causing chemical benzene. A full list can be found on our 7 News website. If you have them, you should discard them. Full refunds will be issued to anyone who has already purchased the products. A campaign has been launched to help a truck driver jailed for more than 100 years over a deadly highway crash. Kim Kardashian is among the millions of Americans pleading for clemency because the accident was caused by faulty brakes.
In 2019, on a highway in Denver, Colorado, a fiery, lethal crash, a semi-trailer ploughing into 28 cars.
You guys, we just cured anxiety.
Oh my God!
The impact killing 4 people. Rogelio Aguilera Medeiros was behind the wheel. He says the brakes failed. Prosecutors argued he should have diverted to a runaway truck ramp. Last week, the 26-year-old was sentenced to an astonishing jail term, 110 years.
I would have preferred God taking me.
A sentence prosecutors, some victims' families and even the judge say is too harsh, even cruel.
If I had the discretion, it would not be my sentence.
But the judge was left with no other option. He's bound by Colorado state law, which requires him to impose minimum mandatory sentences for some crimes and that they be served back to back. Aguilera Medeiros was found guilty of 27 charges. Calls for clemency are gaining traction.
No more injustice!
Fellow truck drivers have staged a boycott of Colorado. Almost 5 million people have signed a petition, and Kim Kardashian's made this her latest social justice fight. He was not drunk or under the influence. Mandatory minimums take away judicial discretion and need to end. The governor is now reviewing the sentence. In the United States, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
A small plane has hit a paraglider after taking off in the US state of Texas. The paraglider was killed landing in a local's yard. The plane crashed nearby. Its pilot was also killed. Transport officials are investigating. Victorians are being urged to think twice before gifting a pet for Christmas. Shelters are already experiencing a surge in abandoned animals as owners ditch pets to go on holidays.
Bringing a dog or cat into the home might seem like a good idea, but when the festivities wear off, animal shelters become inundated. Pets can soon become an unwanted gift as the reality of the commitment sets in. This year, the spike in abandoned pets has arrived early. The RSPCA has seen a 70% increase in animals being surrendered due to challenging behaviour. Most of the pets were dumped in between lockdowns once owners returned to work.
It's heartbreaking. We just had 2 dogs surrendered yesterday with a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old child, and it was devastating.
Many families just can't afford a pet because of the financial strain of the pandemic. Kennels are full, so some owners are leaving their dogs or cats alone when they go on holiday. Staff at the Australian Animal Protection Society fear they won't be able to cope with demand.
There is a shortage of vets at the moment, so being able to medically look after as many animals as we can becomes a strain.
For those wanting to find a furry friend under the tree this year, the message is the same. Pets are for a lifetime, not just for the holiday season.
Be thinking ahead before you make a decision. How much time will you be out of the house? Are you planning holidays?
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Melbourne researchers have unlocked a key to solving the mystery of Parkinson's disease. How it could improve treatment is next on 7 News. Also, joy for parents finally taking their preemie baby home after 4 months. The media merger uniting the city and the country. And Santa Claus visits cats and dogs hoping to find a home this Christmas. Melbourne researchers have made a breakthrough in the fight against Parkinson's. They've discovered the secret to why the disease progresses, which could lead to better treatments for 80,000 Australian sufferers.
Ian McLean was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease 2 years ago.
It's classed as a movement disorder, but it affects every facet of your life, and it just gets worse as time rolls on.
The 46-year-old is now working with researchers at the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute, who set out to solve the mystery of why the disease progresses. Using cutting-edge animation technology, they found it's due to a protein called PINK1.
What it does is actually part of a garbage disposal system, and when this system goes awry, you get the build-up of toxic waste and garbage, which can then lead to Parkinson's disease.
Scientists say the breakthrough means treatments can be fast-tracked to slow down the disease or even stop it in its early stages. Researchers will now examine newly diagnosed patients to see what triggered their Parkinson's disease in the hope to eventually create individualised treatment plans.
To develop disease-modifying drugs that will help patients suffering from Parkinson's disease like Ian.
If there's a way to block what's actually happening, it'd give people like me some chance of a normal life again.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Shareholders in regional TV broadcaster Prime have voted overwhelmingly to accept a takeover bid from Seven West Media, the owner of this network. Seven offered a deal worth $132 million. The merged business takes effect on January 1st, potentially reaching 90% of Australians. Checking the markets, and the ASX 200 ended the day 23 points higher. Major banks were the best performers today, while tech stocks and Afterpay fell. The Australian dollar is buying 72.19 US cents. The actress who starred in the popular 60s children's movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang has died at the age of 91. Sally Ann Howes played the character Truly Scrumptious opposite Dick Van Dyke, the widowed inventor.
High, low, anywhere we go on Chitty Chitty we depend. Bang, bang, chitty, chitty, bang, bang, our fine four-fender friend.
Howes died peacefully in her sleep in Florida. Parents of a baby born 4 months premature are getting the only Christmas gift they want. They're taking home their little girl, who was born at the Royal Women's Hospital weighing less than half a kilogram.
Millie Rose Phillips shocked everyone. Arriving early at 23 weeks, she weighed less than a tub of butter at just 478 grams. Millie was born with lung and stomach complications in August. First-time mum Hannah Brock was told there was no way they would make it home for Christmas. But after 127 days at the Royal Women's Hospital, Millie had other ideas.
She pulled out her own feeding tube and they said, all right, you go, if you want to pull that out, you can feed yourself. She's doing really well.
Over 2,000 babies a year are born more than 4 months early. They typically spend months in hospital recovering. At the moment, no visitors are allowed in, making Millie's farewell from the NICU all the more special.
We've got my brother who's been stuck up in Townsville. He finally gets to come down. Yeah, it's just good to be able to get her to meet my dad, who she hasn't met.
Santa made a special visit to the ward today, handing gifts to families.
Sadly, not every family will be heading home for Christmas. Hundreds of doctors and nurses will work around the clock in the intensive unit, caring for up to 60 babies.
One of them will be little Lila McDermott, born on Sunday at 28 weeks. She's making progress and is starting to breathe on her own, but there's a long way to go.
I think she might be in here for maybe another 8 weeks.
It'd be good if she could meet family and things for Christmas, but unfortunately she'll just have to wait.
Rochelle Brown, 7 News.
Dogs and cats without a home have received a visit from Santa Paws to brighten their day as they wait to be adopted. The Lost Dogs Home welcomes donations of unwanted Christmas gifts to help their furry friends.
In the new year. Greater Melbourne's a city of animal lovers, and it's no surprise to me that you find a large number of people making very generous donations, and I thank them for it.
The visit was a special treat for pups who've had a rough year. Sport is next with Andrew McCormack at Macca. An out-of-form Aussie opener has escaped the doghouse.
He has, Mike. Selectors are standing by. Marcus Harris will have the latest live from the Aussie camp next, including a fresh update on the future of Justin Langer as Pat Cummins returns with a chance to lift the urn at the mighty MCG. Plus, the Stars import to go out with a bang, why Andre Russell's biggest hit may be yet to come. Melbourne's young NBA star looking like a seasoned pro, and English football's powerhouse clubs set for a title fight. Welcome back. Marcus Harris's spot in the Boxing Day test has been rubber stamped, with coach Justin Langer showing faith in the Victorian opener. But there's still plenty of intrigue on the makeup of Australia's bowling attack as they look to close out the Ashes series at the MCG.
As skipper of the country, Pat Cummins deserves the VIP treatment, carrying precious cargo with son Albie. Touching down in Melbourne via a private charter, the captain set to return after the COVID drama which wiped him out in Adelaide. Steve Smith and wife Danny also on board, along with the rest of Australia's bowling cartel. Josh Hazlewood unlikely to prove he's over a side strain, while Mitchell Starc will need to overcome a rib injury.
He's tough, he is that tough. But if he's not right, then we'll look at it. But at this stage, there's no indication suggesting he won't be playing the next test match.
Fresh faces Michael Neeser and Jai Richardson, no certainties. Quick Scott Boland on standby. There is one lock, Victorian teammate Marcus Harris to play Test Match 13 after 2 failed outings.
He'll play in the tests, no worries about it. This is his home ground. He's played a lot at the MCG.
A day off for the Aussies. David Warner jogging past the MCG with wife Candice as England trained. Number 3, Marnus Labuschagne surging beyond Joe Root as the world's best batsman in Test rankings.
I've got absolutely no reason to believe he won't keep getting better and better.
The England captain with bigger headaches, batting with 4 stumps at training, attempting to arrest 4 dismissals in identical circumstances this series.
A lot of our dismissals were probably soft ones in the sense that we could probably have left them.
The visitors with a round table heart to heart, watching mistakes from their second test belting.
Yeah, it was a good honest chat. When you go 2-0 down in the series, it's very easy to just sort of go, it's okay, we'll move on, whereas we actually challenged each other.
England could make as many as 4 changes. Pressure on opener Rory Burns with spinner Jack Leach and veteran Johnny Bairstow firmly in the mix. Speedster Mark Wood and batsman Zach Crawley tipped to return. And Justin Langer has declared he'll be seeking a new contract when it expires in June. Under fire just a couple of months ago, he appeared at long odds to receive a fresh deal. But after a World Cup triumph, strong feedback from players and an Ashes series on track for a whitewash, Langer wants to retain the job and stay at the helm. A decision now for Cricket Australia as to whether he keeps all 3 positions across all 3 formats, something Langer steadfast today. He wants to maintain all 3. Andrew?
Thanks, Mitch. Mitch Cleary there. Melbourne Stars import Andre Russell has promised to go out with a bang in his final 2 Big Bash games. The big-hitting West Indian even warned fans in Hobart to take care in the outer as he plans to take down the Hurricanes tomorrow. He's the Big Bash's box office star, and Andre Russell is hoping his biggest hit is yet to come.
I'm really looking forward to cashing on some good performances for the Stars. I'll try my best to do something special what J. Ross can do.
While the big-hitting Jamaican is still searching for an invite for Christmas Day lunch.
Maybe have a bite, have a few beers as well. So, try and enjoy it as much as possible while I'm away from home.
Russell warned the Hobart locals to think twice about a crowd catch if he clears the fence tomorrow.
Sometimes fans, want to take a spectacular catch, but, respect your health as well.
Last night, the Marvel Stadium crowd had plenty of chances in the outer.
And seeing them beautifully. Second tier.
Aaron Finch returned from a knee injury in typical style. He and Nick Maddinson lifted the Renegades to within reach of a mammoth 207-run target.
Up it goes. It's almost hit hit the roof and it's cleared.
But when Maddinson fell for 67 to some sharp work from Josh Inglis and then Finch followed shortly after, the run chase quickly ran out of steam against the unbeaten Scorchers. Earlier, Mitch Marsh blasted 5 sixes himself on his way to 86 from 53 deliveries. The World Cup hero making the most of WA's hard border stance.
It's nice not having 4-hour flights. Like, I love playing at Perth Stadium, don't get me wrong, and I love WA, but no flights the next few days. It's going to be nice.
Melbourne United is bracing for a Boxing Day bash with the Sydney Kings. The reigning champs hammered Sydney by a whopping 42 points last week and won't be going easy in the rematch.
We're really treating it like this is the game 3 of a series, and it's on the road, and it's going to be tough, but we believe that we're getting better.
A win could lift Melbourne into the top 4 for the first time this season. Josh Giddey is showing why he's a contender for the NBA's Rookie of the Year. The Melbourne teenager dropped 14 points, 5 rebounds and 3 assists this afternoon against the Nuggets.
Here is Giddey on the leak out, and he got behind everybody and a perfect pass set him up about a 60-footer.
Giddey helped the Thunder beat Denver 108-94. Liverpool and Arsenal will do battle for a spot in the final of English Football's League Cup. Leicester City led Liverpool 3-1 at Anfield this morning.
Maddison gets the break of that one. Maddison! Oh, it's a stunner! It is an absolute rocket from James Maddison.
But despite resting a host of stars, the Reds fought back to draw level at 3-3 with a goal in the 5th minute of stoppage time. Liverpool then went on to book their spot in the last 4 by winning a penalty shootout. Tottenham and Chelsea will face off in the other semi-final. And a grade 3 teacher has become an instant hero after promising hot chocolates for all her students if she made this incredible basketball shot at recess. Miss Fitz from Holy Trinity School in Washington, D.C. enjoying her newfound status as Queen of the Playground. And Mike, she might have enjoyed it, but I don't think the parents would have had much fun on the school pickup with their kids full of sugar and hot chocolate.
Sugar high. You think they look like they have plenty of energy anyway. Thanks, Macca. Sonia is next with the forecast. And Sonia, Christmas is almost here. Drum roll, what can we expect?
Mike, it is dry with increasing sunshine. Then we're in a warming trend for the last week of the year. Details next. Good evening. Once again, our day started under cloud, but by late morning, it was already breaking up and there's almost nothing left now. So the city nudged 20 degrees out in that sunshine. The cloud passed over us this morning, but a lot of it's gone now. So under blue skies, many suburbs are enjoying a mild 19 or 20 this evening. It is 17 in Geelong and Torquay, but 21 up in Yarra Glen. The cloud is mostly over eastern Victoria now. We had the odd shower there, but it was only a sprinkling. Otherwise, our Thursday was dry for the rest of the state under mostly clear skies. But if you're spending your days down along the coast, it is those cool winds that are keeping the summer heat away. A high centred south of the Bight today extended a ridge across Bass Strait. That's helped push the cloud away to the east. But tomorrow night, just as Santa is making his deliveries, a very weak cold front passes through, so it will drag in some cloud on Christmas morning and may even deliver some patchy drizzle and light showers, mainly about the southwest coast. But there'll be a fair bit of blue sky by the afternoon. Up in the northeast, though, there is a chance the trough could deliver some showers, even a rumble of thunder during your afternoon. To the Christmas Eve forecast now, it is wet and cloudy for those in Brisbane. Sydney also expecting some showers. A mild day in Hobart, warm and dry in Adelaide and hot in Perth. Back home, we're starting off Christmas Eve with some patchy morning fog, mostly sunny mostly though in the south and in the valleys up in the northeast of the state, but then lifting to a dry and mostly sunny day statewide. That light wind will allow the warmth to spread all the way down to the coast before a moderate sea breeze kicks in during the afternoon. Tomorrow is a stunner around Melbourne under a light southerly, and these clear skies temperatures climb into the mid to high 20s, should reach 31 degrees in in Yarra Glen. We are heading for 27 degrees here in the city after dipping down to 12 overnight. We might not be feeling that summer heat just yet, but it's a sunny outlook. Morning cloud clearing as we sit down to Christmas Day lunch, 21 degrees, with just the slightest chance of the northwest suburbs getting a shower later in the day, but the city is dry. We recover on Boxing Day in a mild 20, and then we're coasting over the Christmas break. Monday 25, Tuesday 26, rising to 27 on Wednesday and Thursday. And if the weather keeps this up, we could be in for a warm New Year's Eve. How good is that, Mike?
It looks terrific. Thanks, Sonia. Now, let's see what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mike. Tomorrow on Sunrise, put cash back in your pocket. What to stop paying for right now.
From fees to charges, just how much you can save. We'll see you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's 7 News for now from the team. Have a great night.